Hey, and welcome to the ANY Goodlife. As you've been seeing on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, on our Instagram, we've been going off here for the last few months. It's been a crazy experience. Every week there's just a heightened presence of God, and we are just having a blast in it. But we just want to switch the gears now. We're going to change up the plans, and we're going to go in. We want to just show you that behind the lights, behind the smoke, and behind the hype, there are real people with real stories of how Jesus Christ transformed our lives. I'm Josie Lacorte, and I'll be your host, and this is my story.
Around when I was 15 years old, I got really sick, went to many doctors, many hospitals, but no one knew what was wrong with me. And days got worse where like the walls would literally be spinning around me. I couldn't walk or anything. I got like really weak, and I urinated on myself. I couldn't hold it in at all. And I got these sharp pains that felt like someone was honestly putting a knife through my head. And I went to more doctors, but no one gave me answers. Some people said the blood was flowing through my head, was taking really long to get to the rest of my body. So I got really sick, went to hospital, went to doctors, no one gave me answers. And like I honestly became really depressed because of this. I soon got really weak and stuff, and I found myself in a wheelchair, not able to walk at all. So then one day I did an MRI. And the MRI showed that there were like damages on my brain called lesions. And then the doctors told me, oh, you have multiple sclerosis. And I was like, what is that? I'm like, okay, and whatever, multiple sclerosis, all right, give me my antibiotics, and then after I'll be fine, right? And then after they're like, no, it's an incurable disease. And I was like, what? Me? Incurable disease? Like I didn't understand like everything that was happening. I had my mom on the left side of me who was crying, and my dad that he was just shocked, like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? So the doctor said that they had to rush me to the hospital, and I got to the hospital, and all I remember was I was sitting on that hospital bed crying because I was like, I can't see anything. My vision was like almost completely gone, all blurry, and I couldn't walk, and I'm like, what honestly is the use? Like I started getting suicidal thoughts, and I got depressed. And then weeks went by, and I was still in the wheelchair, and I'm like, honestly, no. I pulled out my playbook that had my Bible on, and I'm like, let me read a verse, you know, a verse that said, that God said, like, let the weak say I'm strong. So I was like, okay, let the weak say I'm strong. So the doctor said, Louise, get up, let's try to see if you can walk. And I'm like, no. So I tried, but I couldn't walk. And I'm like, honestly, God, I'm weak right now, and I'm strong right now. I'm gonna be strong in your name. So I got up and I started walking again, and doctors were looking at me like, oh my gosh, this girl had paralysis. How's she walking right now? And weeks went by, I started getting better. But then after I got out of the hospital, they're like, be careful, it's not safe out there for someone that has multiple sclerosis. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I went, and like some days were bad. Like I started to walk really bad. And I honestly wanted to give up, but I didn't. I had faith that God would heal me. And then after in like 2 years or so, I went to church one night, and unexpectedly, the prophet called my name and told me that God wanted him to tell me that the lesions in my brain would go away. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. And I went to school, and I was telling everyone, and my friends saw, they were like, whatever, you know, it might not be true. And for the first time they saw me running, they're like, oh my gosh. And they like started feeling my arms and hands, and like trying to tickle me, and they're like, do you feel that? I'm like, yeah, I feel that. And then they're like, oh my gosh, it's real. And yeah. It was so easy.
How cute. Yeah.